Adopted at the age of 17, Marcus Aurelius became the heir to the great Roman throne. Aurelius was raised mostly in his grandfather's home, despite coming from a wealthy family. Rather early in his life, both of his parents died. From the beginning, his quest for knowledge is what made him unique. He was drawn to philosophy, especially Stoicism, which emphasizes that virtue should be defined by actions rather than just by ideas or words. After a near-death experience, the elderly Emperor Hadrian is said to have noticed young Aurelius and was so taken with him that he adopted him into his line of succession. Up to the day he was crowned Emperor of Rome, Aurelius faithfully served the state for more than 2 decades, seeing through Hadrian's demise and Antonius Pius's administration. Details about Marcus Aurelius' life are largely unknown. It's nearly 2 millennia old, and the majority of sources are dubious at best. The man's meditations, a collection of notes he wrote to himself, provide the clearest picture of the man. One of the most important pieces of Stoicism is meditations. It is essentially an ageless guide to leading a balanced life. There isn't much more to say about it than what has already been said. It provides us with more insight into Marcus Aurelius' clarity of thought than it does philosophy. Rather than how he imagined the world to be, he saw it as it was. That might not seem like much, but it happens less frequently than most of us would like to believe. We can analyze Aurelius' story to learn how this kind of awareness can be intentionally fostered. Using it pays off in all facets of life. First, the obstacle. There are a lot of outside stimuli in our daily lives. Our brains would become overloaded, and we couldn't operate normally if we tried to take in every single one. The brain has efficiency filters as a result, which enable it to determine what information we require at what time. Yet there's an unintended consequence of this mechanism as well. Unless we actively direct attention towards certain important areas, it may not always be fully deployed there. However, efficiency always requires compromise. People think about something completely different from what they are doing about 30% of the time, according to research by cognitive psychologist Michael Caine of the University of North Carolina, who specializes in memory and attention studies. This demonstrates the ease with which we can overlook pertinent information and succumb to our brain's default configuration. To combat this, there are 3 methods. First, educate yourself to break free from the autopilot. In Meditations, Aurelius emphasizes the need of seeing the world more deeply than our instinctive surface perceptions. He stated it himself, "Nothing has the capacity to enlarge the mind quite like the capacity to thoroughly and methodically examine everything that is observed in life." We can teach our brain to be more proactive, even though attention doesn't always flow to every pertinent bit of information. We can depict the world in a more representative light if we never forget this fact. And that's where consciousness and rational thoughts start. Make time during the day to pay close attention. Take your time trying to get around the concessions of the autonomous brain mode. Many things are out there, and they are important. Utilize a second set of eyes to gain objectivity. Seeing the world objectively, without the use of prejudice and personal judgment, is one of the fundamental components of awareness. It is difficult to develop because our senses are meant to take in information about our locations, activities, and emotions. The world is full of stimuli, and each of us processes stimuli through a different neural pathway. Our perception of our surroundings and events is distorted because we spend most of our lives thinking that we are the center of reality and using that knowledge to guide our actions. The Copernican principle in cosmology asserts that despite Earth's significance to humans, it has no special place in the universe. On a larger scale, it is incredibly insignificant. The same logic holds true for individuals. Even though we experience a great deal of the world around us, there is more going on in a bigger picture than just us. Understanding reality for what it is, as opposed to how we feel about it, will come more quickly the sooner we can set aside our personal prejudices. One quality of Aurelius that comes through in all of his writings is his extraordinary capacity to remove himself from his own thought and view the outside world and himself objectively. His deep insights can be explained in part by this. By tuning out and striving to see things from multiple perspectives, he widened his circle of awareness. It's a very useful strategy that most of us don't employ enough. Take a step away from your own footwear. Try to gain objectivity by viewing the world through a different set of eyes, and conceptualize your observations as though you were in the body of someone else. 3. Continue to look for methods to clear your thoughts. The fact that Aurelius wrote Meditations for no one other than himself sets it apart. From all indications, it seems to be a very private journal with little coherence or organization. This suggests that his writing was probably done more as a way to practice organizing and decluttering his own thoughts than to impart any wisdom. That makes a great deal of sense, as Dr. James W., the work of Penn-Baker, clarifies. Penn-Baker is a psychology professor at the University of Texas at Austin, and a pioneer in the field of writing therapy. His research on the advantages of journaling has been acknowledged by the American Psychological Association as some of the most significant in the field. Those who had been unemployed for 8 months were divided into 3 groups by Penbaker and his team in 1994. The first group was asked to write about their layoff and feelings surrounding it. The second group was asked to write about anything, and the third group received no writing guidance. Following the study, those who had documented their layoff experiences had a significantly higher chance of landing new employment. Through the act of writing, they managed to reduce tension and mental clutter and improve their emotional awareness. They received the motivation they required to understand where they were and where they needed to go. Penbaker's research had demonstrated in similar studies that journaling improves immune function and helps individuals manage trauma. Through journaling, Aurelius managed to gather the scattered thoughts in his head and arrange them into tangible values he could work towards. Some find that meditation, walks, and the outdoors, or specific kinds of exercises have the same effect. Even though the human mind is very noisy, we can make it less so by developing a routine that helps us to quiet it. We can simplify the intricacy that comes with surviving in a world that is getting busier and more crowded by developing a habit that centers on arranging our thoughts. Being aware of pertinent information in one's environment, one's own feeling and thoughts, and oneself is referred to as being in a state of consciousness. It is a mindset that seeks to comprehend reality as closely to the truth as it is feasible. Nowadays, Marcus Aurelius is recognized as the embodiment of what the Greek philosopher Plato called a philosopher king, a political figurehead who actively pursued wisdom and was primarily interested in knowledge. Aurelius' ability to use his mental clarity was more important to his success as a leader of one of the most powerful empires in history than his morals and desires. The outer bound of your potential is determined by the extent of your awareness. You can comprehend your surroundings more precisely the more knowledge you possess. There are more opportunities available to you the more adept you are at structuring your ideas. Clarity of thought is a fundamental advantage that can be developed via practice, just like any other skill. Philosophy and introspection can influence a person's capacity to overcome obstacles and reach well-informed conclusions, as demonstrated by Marcus Aurelius' leadership and personal development cycles. He placed a strong emphasis on mindfulness and reason, which is still relevant today and provides guidance on how people can develop resilience and wisdom within themselves. Examining Aurelius' meditations, we find that not only it is a manual for living morally, but also a model for preserving mental clarity in the face of uncertainty and hardship. Though they have their origins in antiquity, Aurelius' meditation techniques are similar to modern approaches to mindfulness and cognitive behavioral therapy. Self-awareness and emotional control are two qualities that these activities seek to foster, and are necessary for both personal development and effective leadership. Aurelius' call for disciplined introspection serves as a reminder of the significance of firmly establishing oneself in fundamental beliefs and principles in a world where diversions and information overload are becoming more and more common. Furthermore, Aurelius' ability to lead during turbulent political periods highlights how his philosophical ideas can be put into practice. His capacity to maintain composure and reason in the face of difficulty enabled him to successfully negotiate different diplomatic situations and internal Roman Empire disputes. This historical background offers an engaging case study of how philosophical knowledge can be translated into practical leadership techniques, highlighting the significance of moral judgment and empathy in governance. We can learn a great deal about navigating the complexities of modern life with integrity and clarity by considering Aurelius' observations. For those looking to live meaningful and purposeful lives, his emphasis on self-awareness and ethical reasoning is a timeless beacon of hope. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. Want to know how to escape from the herd mentality? Join us where we explore Nietzsche's techniques on how to trust yourself and follow no one.